Hey guys, it's Adam Grumbo. Like I said, we're going to be breaking down how I color grade different things from my drone reel without using LUTs. I'm going to show you the process that I use so you don't have to worry about buying LUTs. Instead, you can craft your own color right from scratch. I think you're going to learn a lot from this video. I put a bunch of clips in the description below. I've already transcoded them to ProRes so you can edit them on any machine that you're using. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell notification. If you do learn something, feel free to share it with one of your friends. And let's get right into it. So today, we're going to talk about different drones that I used in my reel. You can get a link to my reel right here. In the description, I have allowed for downloads, so you can download these files of your own. I went ahead and made them ProRes so that they should work across all systems. But the file names remain the same so you can see where they came from. There's different clips that I've used, some as old as 2014 and some shot even this year, just before lockdown happened. The first clip I want to talk about is the Gopro Clip. This was shot in Las Terrenas, Dominican Republic, very, very early in the morning at a beautiful mountainside with the GoPro Hero 4. Now the GoPro Hero 4 was attached to a Phantom 2 drone and it auto exposes. If we pull up our scopes here, you can see it did expose for the land and overexposed my beautiful perfect sunset just a little bit. Let's see what we can do to make that look as good as we can. Let's compare how it looks in my reel and the raw footage and see if we can talk about how we got there. Our scopes here are a little bit overexposed, ended up overexposing our sunrise. That's no problem because it does protect our shadows against some noise. First thing I want to do is try to even out our exposure, and I'm going to do that by bringing down our exposure. We can see that we've already clipped our highlights. There's nothing much we can do about that. But if we bring our exposure down, maybe we can balance the image out. I want to first do that by raising up our contrast. We're going to bring down our blacks so that they meet the bottom line. 0 down here is our blacks. Up here is 100% white. Since we know that's clipped, I want to push that back up so that it's closer to the 100%. So if I grab our white slider, we're going to push that until it meets the top. That's great. I think maybe I'll bring down these a little bit more. That's fine with me. Now we're still missing our saturation. So I'm going to do a little bit with our saturation slider. See if we can get it a little prettier. The grass doesn't look bad. I'm not too disappointed with how that looks. Let's ambiguify that. Yeah, the grass looks okay. Maybe even push the shadows up a little bit so we can get better exposure on that. What I'm really concerned about is the sky. The sky is the most beautiful part of this image, and we want it to look more like that. So how do we get there? Well, first thing I'm going to do is use our secondaries. Our secondaries is what we do after we did our primary. We did our primary, and now we're going to isolate some of this sky. Use our color picker, and I'm going to grab as much of that sky as I can. We're going to do it the best we can without selecting any of our grass. I can keep doing the color picker, or I can start sliding these around. Alright, that's pretty good. Maybe we need some more color in here. I guess so. What happens if we turn that off? Definitely getting closer. A little too much dark here. Don't really need that. I'm going to push that up to get rid of that. We don't want to darken that stripe. We do have to get it up here. What if I can color pick that without getting too much trees? They're going to get little trees. Alright. Well, we'll just have to remain satisfied with that. We can denoise it to try to cover up a little bit more of that. Give me some more of that blue. Yeah, we're going to end up getting a little bit of the darker edge. No big deal. We'll stretch that out here and push that back. Yeah, we're still losing a little of our sky right there in that corner. Fear not. the blur will help soften that a bit. So now we pretty well isolated our sky. The first thing I want to do with it is darken it. Let's see what we can do. Bringing this down is going to darken it. You can see what we've got here. Sorry about the flip. But I also want to add a lot of saturation to it. We don't want to get overboard with our saturation. And I do want to add a little bit of that pink hue to it. Maybe not get crazy. Let's not get too crazy. We're starting to clip our reds. We don't want that. How does it look compared to our image? Not bad. It's a little contrasty right here, which I don't like. Maybe we can bring that contrast down. I'm going to soften it a little bit. Our sky doesn't need to be too sharp. Well, what does it look like here? Alright, we're adding that color that I liked. Very good. Second thing I want to do is isolate our grass so that we can green up the grass a little bit. We've already done the isolation, and that's right here. Is our primary and secondaries. You can rename it here. Primary contrast and skies. If we duplicate it, copy paste, what we want to do here is rename it to grass. But right here it has gone crazy, so we're going to go back here and reset that. And then our secondaries, we're going to invert it by pressing this little button here. Blink. Alright. We certainly don't want our grass to be pink, so we're going to bring that back. Head over to green. Too much saturation. And we don't want to darken it. Keep our sharpness in the grass, why not? Too much saturation. Let's bring that down. And then we can use this to make our grass any color that we want. We don't want to make it crazy, but I would like to make it a little more grass colored. Let's brighten that up. Alright. Let's bigify that. See what we're dealing with. Maybe a little bit too much saturation on that green grass. We already know it's right here, grass. So I would prefer to probably bring our saturation down a hair. Probably gotta push that back up. It's not bright enough. And you can change your color here if you want a more bluish grass or more brownish grass, depending on what your preferences are. Let me turn off our flip. The raw and the colored. Maybe too much saturation on the sky. It looks a little phony baloney. Go to the skies and bring that saturation down. You can still make the sky whatever color you want. But I remember the sky being very pink. So we'll just make it pink. There's our before and our after. And that's the bummer about this clip, because if we look at our lumetri scopes, it's still clipped right here where this green is and where this red is. It's clipped, and there's nothing we can do to bring that back. But this is a pretty nice shot from 2014. See, our blacks aren't as low as they could be. If I'm happy with our grass, I would make another lumetri color effect for the final grade, which would bring our blacks down to black. Yeah. Maybe push our shadows up a little bit. I don't think we're going to get those highlights back. I would still like that to be white. So, push our whites up. so it's natural. I don't like gray skies. So that's how I did that one. And again, you can download that file below already in ProRes format so that you can start playing with it based on this color correction that you've seen here. Alright, here's another shot. This one was shot in Maui, facing west, just outside of Hana. And this is how I graded it in my reel. Really emphasized that sky. And then how it is when it was shot. So this was from the Mavic 2 Pro, shooting in 10-bit log. It's nice because I can actually expose for it myself. Let's turn off that layer. If you look at our scopes, a little bit overexposed on our sun. What are you going to do? You point it at the sun. And we got a good lift on our shadows. So this is, well, it's how I exposed it because I thought it would give me the best image. Let's see how to color correct it. We're going to do the same thing. We got to color correct it first. Let's balance out our exposure. Going to bring that down. Right, and then we're going to add a little bit of contrast. Maybe too far down. I'm going to push the whites up a little bit so they touch the top, but I don't want to expose. We can bring our sky down by pulling the highlights. The GoPro certainly cannot be color corrected as much as our new efficient codecs. So I'm going to push the shadows up here so we can keep our greens, so we can keep our ground level nice, but then we're going to pull down this so that we can have full contrast. See how it's touching here? Dark shadows without clipping them, and then bright highlights without mostly clipping them. We're clearly clipping the sun, and there's not much you can do about that. But let's talk about what we did on color. Same thing we did with the GoPro. I want to start isolating that sky. Let's do it by going into our secondaries. Do our color picker. See what we got. We got to keep going with it. I want that whole sky. We should be able to isolate most of it without getting our ground. And then once we have that, we can start pulling our own here. I want all the highlights, but not all the shadows. I'm gonna have to add a little bit more color in there. Oops, not from there. Add some more color to get our full sky. Looks like we might not even need to isolate the sky that much like this. What we're missing here, that is the white sun. We've already got our Luma all the way up. Let's see if we can isolate that patch. There it is right there. So this is the saturation isolator. We don't even need it. And we're missing a little bit of our dark over here. I think we can just color pick that. Boink. And one more time with feeling. Alright, nicely isolated. Clean up our mask by denoising it. Should get rid of some of that fuzziness. And then blur, which will keep it from being too intense on our border there. There we go, we got it. Now, let's start farting with it. We can bring it down a little bit. That's fine. But I really just want to blast that thing with color. See what it looks like bright orange. Alright, maybe over to pink. Cool. Turn off the mask. Let's see what we're dealing with. Gorgeous. What I want is a little bit more pop. How do we get that? Here's our contrast slider. Let's push it up. More contrast. See what we're getting with the trees over here? That's what we don't want. Getting a little funky with the trees. How do we get rid of that? It might be to do with our blur. Less blur. Alright. Pushing our grade a little bit too much. See, we're missing it right here. That's our blur. We don't want that. Alright. And then we got to select a little bit more shadows to keep that from getting weird. Fine with it. Getting funky in the mountains right here. And that is because we are adding contrast to the top layer, but not to the bottom layer. So we can't get too crazy on our contrast. There. I'm going to blur the hair. Let's add some more saturation to give that fire. Fire! Let's bust up that blur. Alright, now that's looking more natural. Not crazy on the line here like it was previously. But our whites are no longer white. I don't like that. See, these need to be pushed all the way up. We'll deal with that in a second. Do we want more pink? Maybe. Yeah, looks good. Like I said before, now that we have it isolated, we can make that sky whichever color we want. People do this on trees all the time to make you think that you're flying through some crazy awesome forest when you're not. Something like that. What does it look like in my reel? Real close. The sky. Second thing we want to do, of course, is to isolate our greens on the bottom. You could leave it like that, it'd be a nice shot. Let's do the same thing. Easy way to do it so we don't have to do the color picker. Just copy and paste it. There it is there. I'm going to reset that and our secondaries. Look at that, that's crazy. We're going to invert the mask. So now we're selecting the bottom. And certainly we don't want pink grass. We want green grass. So we're going to bring this back. No pink, sorry. Contrast, whatever, sharpen, whatever. We want it to be sharp grass. Not so much saturation though. Easy killer. But we do want to bring that brightness up. Because I want to see that. I want to see it. That's not bad. Not bad. I like it. What are we missing here? Let's go back to our scopes. Alright, our whites are white. Our blacks are black. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. No, that looks good. And again, the clip is below in the description, so feel free to download it. This is Mavic 2 Pro, shot in 10-bit log mode. There's your before. And there's your after. So much prettier. Alright. Alright, so this one is Dominican Republic, shot with a Phantom 4 Pro. This was shot in 4K 60p. I don't like shooting 60p on the Phantom 4 Pro because it really deteriorates your image. Also gives you some funky artifacts once in a while too. These are my buddies from Florida. They are free divers and fishermen, big salt life people. It was a sunny day, but I exposed for blue just to give it a different look. Let's look at our scopes. Exposed really nicely. We're not clipping anything, not even the white seafoam or the shadows, but we still need to balance it out a little bit. I want to keep the shadows where they are, but let's push up the, I say shadows. I'm going to keep the blacks where they are, but we're going to push up our shadows and our whites to get that a little bit higher. Shadows up. And whites all the way to 100. Cool. And just to protect that detail a little bit more, let's bring those down just a hair. That's fine. And same thing. Let's start isolating some stuff and see if we can get it to a point where we want it. Let's add some contrast. Let's start out by grabbing our secondaries on that ocean. You can clip it, or you can press these two blue buttons right here and see how well they do. Not bad. And I know what you're thinking. We don't want that cliff. Well, how do we get rid of that cliff? Our Luma slider. We know that that's mostly black. So let's get rid of our shadow. When we pull this, it pulls that side too. Let's move it over. Get rid of some of that black. Getting rid of too much of our water when we do that. So that plan's gonna fail. Let's check out our picker. Maybe our picker can help us get rid of that black stuff. Yoink. Goody. Looks like it was in our saturation. Alright. Maybe we can still get rid of that black. Ooh, it's close. We might have to do isolations, but I don't want to. I don't want to. We'll denoise it. And then we'll add a little blur. That's fine. Alright, so we're isolating that. You want to make it, let's deselect that. Now we only got our waves here. We can make our waves whichever color we want. Maybe just make them a little green, because that's fun. Happy with that. Let's blur that a little bit more. Let's see what we got. Alright. Little green, little green. That's fine. I'd keep it that way. Moving along. Here's a boat out of Mexico. And our waveform here, it's a little bit narrow. I want to open that up. We do that with contrast. Contrast moves this down and moves that up. Let's see. Yeah, just like we predicted. It only gets us so far, but if you look at the image, it's pretty far to begin with. We can push those whites up so that they reach the peaks. And see, depending on your monitor, you might think it's very contrasty. But if you look at here, we're not clipping, so we're good. Maybe I'll bring our blacks down a little bit. Bingo. Look, our water is so dark. That's a pretty cool moody shot anyways, but do we want it that moody? Let's open it up a hair with this. Again, we're going to isolate our water. I think we're going to make the water a little bit more poppy. Let's do it with our secondaries. Let's grab that water. Turn this on here so we can see what our mask looks like. Pretty good mask so far. Let's keep growing it though. What is that? Oh, it's a little bit of a wave. Cool. That's not bad there. I need to get this and this. Let's grab it. Get a little more. Get a little more. There's our blacks. Might as well grab it. And that will push us over the threshold. That's good. Maybe a little here. We don't want to get that. That's going to start to get funky. Close enough. Let's denoise it so we don't get any color artifacts. Blur the hair. There we go. Now we can do whatever we want to with this. Moses in the Red Sea. Whatever. It's easy to get out of hand when you start doing this stuff. But it gives you the power to control the image however you want. Everybody likes a little teal, don't they? I know I do. Looks pretty good. Maybe we could up the sharpness in the water. Maybe we can up the contrast in the water. Looking crazy. Bring the brightness up though. I like it. You don't want to add saturation. It's going to look really funky. Alright, maybe too much contrast. Look, highlight's still good. Black's still good. Yep, like it. I like it. This is a Mavic Air. And this is out in Idaho. Problem is with the Mavic Air is it's incredibly contrasty. This is with the contrast even turned down a couple of notches. Way too much. So because of this, we're going to have to get a little stylistic. See if we can fix this stuff. Crushing our blacks a hair. See if we can do anything about that. Lift it up. The answer is not much. Let's bring our contrast all the way down. It's helping. Bring our exposure up. We got a little room to play with there. We don't want to clip our whites because then we're going to start losing our clouds. And then we might be able to save some of that with our shadows. Now this is where the codec starts to take a crap. If we try to bring that up too much, we're gonna have to start delving into the land that all the Sony users understand with way too much grain in the shadows. Matter of fact, we might have to yeah, we're just gonna have to get stylistic. We're shooting the back side of the sun and the shadowy side anyways. Whatever, that's fine. Alright. I'm just gonna make a new lumetri color so we can do our sky. I'm going to show you a different way. I didn't do it like that on here. Here's another way to start color correcting. We know our sky is pretty blue. And if we want to bring down our luma on our sky, we'll do it here. Let's color pick it. There it is. It thinks our sky's there. Let's give it a little more range just to be sure. And then down, we'll decrease our brightness. But Adam, the sky is still pretty gray looking. Why is that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. But if we want to do the same thing and add saturation to our sky, we do hue versus saturation, which means select a hue and then add saturation to it. Let's give it a little more room. And then we'll push this up for more saturation. Alright, I mean, look how far we've come so far. Yep. There's a lot you can do with H.265 8-bit codecs. Don't believe people when they say that it's not good with 8-bit. But I need 10-bit to make good work, you say. Well, you certainly do not. It helps. Do not need it. Alright, well, let's go back into our secondaries. Save me a little effort. We're going to highlight our sky that way. Did a pretty good grab so far. Let's clean it up. Might as well grab those clouds while we're at it. Let's see if I can get this middle cloud. I'll pick it. Getting a little bit of our dune. I don't want that dune. The reason why we're getting some of that dune is because the darker parts of that cloud are starting to be similar color to the backside of that. Maybe we can get rid of it without getting crazy. Now we're losing our cloud by doing that. And I would prefer to have our cloud. We'll denoise it. Get rid of that little extra piece. Gotta make sure we get the whole sky. Alright, there's our sky. First things first. Bring it down. Second thing second. Everybody likes teal and orange, so let's tealify that sky. Teal it. I'd also add a little bit of contrast. Make the clouds pop a little more. What are we dealing with here? Oh no, Adam. You got some of that mountain. That's no good. I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna blur it a little bit so it doesn't look so completely funky, which helps. But really, what you want to do is undo your blur. And now we're going to draw a mask. Let me shrink this so it's easier to see. Yeah, shrink it. Let me shrink this so it's easier to see. Just make a square. Let's ambiguify that. It's a bingo, as they say. Now we're going to feather that. Feather. Let's shrink it a tiny bit. You're coloring my sand dune a little too much. That's fine with me. Let's fit that back to where it was. Alright, sky. You are covered. Down with it. That's your before. That's your after. We're not done yet. I certainly would love to be able to fix this ground part. I want to add a new lumetri. There we go. And you guessed it. We're going to pick sand color. Somewhere between yellow and orange. Let's just go ahead and pick yellow. See how close we are. Not close at all. Move this over to orange. Not that close. Let's just use the picker. Cool. We're getting there. needs more color. That's not bad there. Not bad at all. One less blue. Whatever. Denoise it a little bit. And bring the blur so we can hide some of our goofiness there. That's our trees. Looks like our sky's getting maybe a little too much blur. But let's see what we can do. This is our custom orange and teal. You can push it to warmer if you want to. Ooh, yeah, Mad Max. Mad Max, here we go. We don't want to get too nuts. We're going to make our own. Push that over here into the orange. Not the red. No, we like the orange. We like the orange. Hi, Candace. Push that up into the orange. Brilliant. That's probably fine right there. But you know what? Definitely stylistic. Alright. I would like to change. I mean, these guys are popping off. That's what it looks good. I sure would like to maybe isolate them a little bit more. Or not isolate them, but fix the... I don't even think we need that or that. Tell you what we're going to do. Alright, so this is basically just selecting the dark stuff. I'm going to blur that a little bit too. I just want it to be a little brighter. There we go. Maybe add some color to it by bringing up the saturation. Ah, something usable. What did it look like before? Blech. Ah, yes, something usable. But it's only 8-bit. Yeah, well. There's a lot you can do with 8-bit if you expose it correctly. Alright, moving along. Hey, that's the same scene. I'll tell you what I'm doing, because I'm lazy. We're just gonna copy all of these things and see if it gets us close. I can do it, I promise. Paste them on there. It's not bad, you know. I think our sky's too bright. So we're gonna do, I didn't label it, but I know that's our primary right there. Primary's at the very top. So our brightness needs to come down just a bit. And then there's our sky. So our sky mask needs to come down. And I'm lazy, so we're just going to change the expansion. It's a bingo. I'll take it. That's... Oh yeah, I flipped it. Let me get rid of that flip. Before. After. Alright. What else we got? You know, here, this is at Sublime Samana in Las Terrenas, Dominican Republic, shot with a Phantom 2 and a GoPro Hero 4. This right here is a perfect example. Look at our scopes. We're not really, I mean, we're clipping a little bit here, but not really clipping anything. Shadows look good. So let's see what we can do to make it look even better. Let's bring down our highlights so we can see those clouds better. Groovy. But then we're going to add contrast to open up our waveform here. What I want is this needs to be brighter. I know that is our shadows. But we don't want it to be gray. So we're going to bring the blacks down so that it matches our bottom line. Groovy. Now what I'm going to do first, just go ahead and make a new Lumetri. Let's isolate our sky in our secondaries. What are we looking at? Gotta catch them all. Let's see, might be able to catch some here. Nope. Here. Yep. A little bit here. Yep. There's our sky. We're missing that bit. Let's go ahead and eyedropper it. Very good. Let's go ahead and eyedropper that one. Very good. Pretty clean mask. I'll take it. Let's denoise it. I'll blur it just a tiny bit. But we're going to darken it some more. Yeah. And then, you know how we do our skies. Give it a little teal. Then we're going to give it some contrast to really make those clouds go crazy. Nice. Clip in just a tiny bit. Bring our highlights down. That's fine. Still looks dreary. Nobody likes dreary. So we want to have our ground stand out a little bit more. An easy way to do that is just play with our colors. We're going to make a new lumetri effect. We're going to expose our ground exactly how we want. We're going to push those up. We're going to give a little more whites there. That's fine. Let's look at the creative tab. We have sharpen and vibrance. Sharpen, yeah, be very careful with that. Drone footage doesn't like to be sharpened exactly too much. Our vibrance is gonna add more saturation to, generally speaking, non-flesh tones. But this one probably will make your image fall apart faster than anything else. So just be gentle. Be gentle, be gentle. Maybe a little too blue, huh? Anyways, but we only want the bottom. We've already goofed up our sky. So we're going to make another mask. We'll just stretch those out. And then we're going to feather that bad boy. There. This mountain needs to be fixed. That's a little too goofy. There's our before and after. I'm not going to let it get away with that terrible mountain mask. We know that it's this one. I think what we can do to cheat a little bit is just mask that off too. Why not? And then we're going to feather it, and then we're going to expand it a little bit because I'm lazy. Feather it some more. There we go. There's our image. Our mountain is back to normal. Before, no sky. After, sky. Good, that's what we want. Happy day. So there's a couple more files here for you guys to just play with. I just wanted you to see my color correcting style so you can get the most out of your drone footage. And feel free to download these sample clips at the bottom. And you can practice your color correcting stuff. Maybe don't put the color corrected shots in your reel. That doesn't seem honest, but good for practicing your color correcting. And if you learned anything today, or if you thought something cool happened that you didn't know before, please hit that subscribe and hit that bell button. If you think anyone else might be able to benefit from this, feel free to share it. If you have any specific questions, let me know. Also, I would love to see some of your drone footage. If you want me to play around with some of the shots that you guys have and see if we can mess with the color to make them a little bit more poppy, feel free to send them on over to adam@adamgrumbo.com and we can make some magic happen with that 8-bit codec and a $500 drone maybe. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.